Yo. Man, there's a lot of shit happening at once. We kind of just got a few character reviews from the Datamine. I have not really had a chance to look at much of anything here, so this is gonna be hitting me fresh. I saw some people saying, "Should I know Sidious is back?" Wait! They fixed Crosshair. Oh shit! Alright, I should probably get this up on screen, huh? That's possibly huge. Specifically, it matters the most for his first snipe before you kind of get the extra stacking damage, but like, having that be an immediate payoff is potentially really valuable. Batterheart set 21. Bad Batch. Love to see it. Rebel Fighters. It's fucking Andor season, baby. It's. I don't know if we're gonna see more Andor characters in the game. If there's anyone that I could possibly make an argument for, I think we deserve a proper Cassian. I think the dude is a standout character with enough traits that are unique that the current Cassian does like zero justice. And I think you could make a really compelling kit off of capital A Andor of the Cassian variety. But when people say, I have seen people say that they want more Andor characters, and I would not complain. But because it's operating in the prestige TV mode, you have less to work with as a kit in a lot of ways. You know, maybe you see some like two tubes, but two tubes. I don't remember seeing two tubes do much beyond stand menacingly in backgrounds in like 3 or 4 shows. Which like Darkside Ray, that kind of just gives CG to do carte blanche whatever they want. But you know, I'm trying to think in terms of like kit ideas, right? There's way more sauce to make like Chimere in Galaxy Heroes than there is to make like Vel, that sort of thing. I mean, maybe there are some characters, right? But it's like a lot of administrative focus. Serial Karn, I don't know how you make a kit out of that. Actually, there is some really funny hooks you could do with that, but it would not be a serious kit. It would be a... Anyway. Yeah, cool. Saw, Mon Mothma. I'm curious if it's just a rerun, because honestly, like, those are pretty fucking good effects. Luthen as well. Cassie, I don't have too much hope for, but we'll see. Emperor Palpatine, Darth Sidious, Scion, Talon, Assassin. Assassin commonly goes with Bane, that could be a hook. And Separatists, we've got 5 characters. Dooku, Newt, Watt, Grievous, and Poggle. Grievous has been eating pretty good lately, actually. Alright, quick see up the 3s. Buff regen. Never too bad of effects, but like, I honestly, an effect like this would really kind of resonate with Bad Batch to some degree. More. Bad Batch has more stuff they're interested in. Basic stun regen. Not terrible, but doesn't hit too hard. It might actually be... Am I underthinking this? It could be good for Emperor Palpatine for Starkiller versus Rey. Giving Palpatine protection regen outside of Starkiller ults is actually not terrible. Ampeg, Classico. Special ability, gain 3 buffs. It's more trooper shit than a lot of other teams. 3 buffs, this ability gains tenacity up. Medical, but when it hits, it does hit hard. Okay. 25% chance to self-dispel. It's Rey propaganda, the main thing I think of. It's not as good as the UFU 65% self-cleanse, but if you're just looking for a cheap scam, you can always do worse than that. One-shot somebody's Palpatine. That's how I start the battle with 20% protection up. Very, very niche. It's just like an anti-burst tool. It's dispellable. Not really that good. Tank Revive. Solid. Bulk is back. Thank fuck. I was actually getting a little bit worried that Qui-Gon might lose his toy. And then light side defeated bulk. Or not bulk. Offensive bulk. I wonder how this works with Bad Batch. I assume that a ally going into captive would not ramp. I assume that doesn't count as defeated. Yeah, obviously, let's say bulk would be the core winner here, but Tank Revive could never really count it out. Bad Batch allies can ignore taunt to target enemy that was damaged previously by a Bad Batch ally on their turn. So for Bad Batch 2, I think this might be worse than it sounds, but that crosshair change actually might make me a liar. So basically, what this means is that like Wrecker AoE is now going to give you a taunt ignore. And is Lightside Ampag in? It would be true for Lightside Ampag sets as well, but it's not in, so it's not technically a dynamic here. The problem with this, of course, is that in so doing this, you throw away all of your stacks. Now, Bad Batch does have ways to ramp their damage outside of target practice, right? Like a Hunter Spear gives you damage pen, technically like a... I know Batcher Hell gives you offense. I think there are other clauses in the kits as well. So there is a world where this has value just to set up a crosshair snipe, especially now that crosshair just got bug fixed. But for how I tend to play Bad Batch, I'm not too interested in this. And then whenever an ally is defeated, dispel stealth from the strongest ally. They gain 200% defense for 2 turns and recover 100% health and protection. Let me read that. I'll like actually take it in rather than just saying it. Allies defeated, dispel stealth from the strongest ally. They gain 200% defense. So this is an auto cascading. This is putting the stealth on rails. And it gives you bonus defense. Is this 2 Wrecker propaganda? This might just be double Wrecker propaganda. Very, very interesting. And like I mean, the problem with well, it's 2-turn defense, but the moment that you get stealth, you lose access to bonus turn. So those 2 turns, if it's a slow Wrecker, will just last a really long time. Very, very interesting. And honestly, this feels very defense coded to me. I mean, it helps on offense too, of course, but... Whenever allies recover health, they recover protection equal to the amount of health recovered. So Bad Batch actually have a surprising amount of regen if you bring Echo in with OG Wrecker. This is effectively turning... It's normally 24% health and protection per crosshair basic. Now this is 48% protection. If you find yourself in a position where you're just taking an insane amount of damage and you need the regen, this actually kind of hits. But wait. Okay, no. But this also hits the Omega auto regen. Now it's actually kind of critical that this is protection regen over health regen, because health is what re-enables your bonus turn trigger. This is deceptively better than it looks. I know we've seen it on a lot of factions in the past, and it's never usually that insane. This might not actually be that bad. Whether or not it's better than the stealth juggle, we'll have to see, but... Man, the stealth juggle... So basically what's happening here is if you run double Wrecker, and they crit Wrecker 1 a bunch, Wrecker 2 will fall out of stealth and will have stacked up Soldier of Fortune a solid amount already. That... It's not a checkmate, exactly, but that is deeply unpleasant. Now, at the same time, there are gambits where like you would actually kind of prefer your Wrecker to keep stealth because you're trying to go for like taunt plus stealth with the crit immunity. But there's texture here. Okay, whenever an ally is critically hit, they gain 100% crit bonus and crit chance for 2 turns. So this is obviously 4 out of 5 of the team members are critically avoidant already, but this is just saying... This is just put your dick on the table. This is just... This might be the winner so far. So, crit avoidance, I think, is currently bugged. That it's, like, only applying once or something. It was happening a lot with the UFU CA6. I don't know if it's still bugged. Or I'd have to, like, look back into that. If this only gives you potentially 100% crit avoidance, it's a bit more niche, but still probably feels pretty good. That's definitely a contender. Allies set the turn with 2 debuffs that can be dispelled. They have 65% to self-dispel. Doesn't hit this too hard that I can think of. Bad Batch, there are some matchups that I've done in Squad Arena where, like, Bad Batch doesn't have as much self-dispel as they could. But if you're ever in a position where, like, let's say you're randomly Bad Batch versus JML. It's not a thing that you'll ever be playing, but, like, man, it sucks to have Efflux happen right off the bat. Even if that was a plausible scenario, 65% chance means it's a 35% chance that you just skip your level 6 for that scenario where you would want to take it. I don't know that it's necessarily, it might work for some spots, but notably speaking, one way that it could be kind of cute is when you have the stun bonus turn clause. Crosshair automatically self-dispels, but this will just give that functionality to everyone else that, like, if you see someone post, like, a JKL or whatever, right, that has, like, an AoE stun, you can use that AoE stun to just, like, try to give yourself extra bonus turns, because a 65% chance on team AoE means in every 3 you should get at least 1, and in 5v5 you should get at least 2. Either way, not the contender compared to these 3 options, I think. Bad Batch, the first time each ally falls below 50% health, all allies reduce their cooldowns by 1 and gain a turn meter. Not competitive. Uh, that should be a little bit reductive because Bad Batch is a squad that actually can leverage just more than usual, but it's still probably less competitive than everything else. I swear I'm not just trying to become like a Bad Batch nerd that just like, well, everything can be good. Like, I'm not saying that, but it's the first time each is the problem. If this was just like repeatable, we have a conversation. But the fact that it's first time, even though you are kind of expected to experience this and then get bonus turns where you possibly get to use it, eh. Rebel Fighter, whenever an ally defeats an enemy, they take a bonus turn. Kind of a win more move. Obviously, there are some squads that like kind of revel in having win more, like Inquisitors, that this was very, very nice for. I don't know if I feel that about Rebel Fighters too much. Like, it's never a bad effect, but it's not a transformative effect. Whenever allies inflict a debuff on an enemy, they deal 10% amp ag. So Saul Guerrero's bomb is now 150% health nuke at start a match, almost. That's a lot of pressure. Okay. Whenever allies are revived, they recover protection 25% team and reduce their cooldowns by 1. I don't. Unless there's a way to proc revives elsewhere in the datacrons, I don't know that this is like a barn burner. Whenever allies grants a buff to another ally, that ally gains 10% TM limit once per turn per ally. So this has existed in a few iterations, and I don't know whether this wording is the when one person makes it 4 people get TM, or when one person makes it they just get 10% TM for themselves. I mean, it's synergetic. It will help Mon Mothma's turn meter train, but there are times where Mon Mothma actually doesn't want help with her turn meter train. She actually wants less. But yeah, definitely a potentially relevant effect to be sure. Whenever allies attack on a turn, they have a 25% chance to remove 10% TM from the target. Usually an effect that gets blown off, but with how many times they can practice, you kind of have to pay some respect to the possibility. You know, that will certainly help Mon Mothma on offense, especially if you're just trying to juggle people. When one person gives buffs to everyone before getting 10%. I have seen situations where I feel like the same wording was giving one person 10%, so I'll believe it when I see it, but yeah, it's hard to say. Whenever Sith allies are stunned, gain turn meter and recover 25% health and protection. I mean, this is largely targeting what, I guess? Treya? So, like, if JKR marks Treya, she would still have her cooldown increase, but she would gain TM and, like, immediately basic you. That's not, like, earth-shattering? I don't know. I'll have to, like, revisit this and, like, look at matchup tables. Whenever a Sith ally falls below 100%, they gain a bonus turn limit once per character per battle. That is doing something a little bit cute with Nihilist cooldown reset under Treya. If someone happens to accidentally proc it, you have immediate consequences. I guess this means that LV just cheats out a bonus turn immediately, which is kind of adorable. I don't know if that could have future implications for Dark Cyclones. LV is Sith, right? He's not Uhu? Is he Uhu? Yeah, he's Sith. What with the Lord and all. I don't know, that's not nothing, that's kind of cute. Also, this technically gives, well, that's so fucking niche. You could use this with Palpatine left to trigger it on all of your Sith, but that requires you using Palpatine with Sith, which hasn't really happened in a good long while. It does technically hit in some spots. End of each turn, Sith allies recover health protection equal to 50%. Okay. I don't think that hits too much. Again, maybe it would be kind of cute for Starkiller versus Rey to make Palpatine a more effective tank if they have like a Cal. Sith, whenever an enemy is defeated by a Sith ally, that enemy can't be revived. That's intriguing. So for Lord Vader purposes, it's usually Maul or, well, if we're talking about like Star revives anyway. I don't imagine LV is getting the early kill too much. You know, future Dark Cyclone stuff notwithstanding. I'm just gonna have to go look at my Sith history in a bit. He's gonna be an Appo Bespoke Empire anyways. Yeah, but it might still be a Sith level 6. Because there's no clone relevant thing. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go look at my, like, I post Sith a bunch, but I just couldn't really tell you where they say relevant to that. Separatist. The first time each Separatist ally falls below 50% health, they gain damage to you 1 turn. This is not as good as the current droid one because it's preventable, dispellable. The other turn, droid allies recover protection if they inflicted at least 5 debuffs that turn. This would help B2 be tankier a bit. It's not nothing, but it's not like earth-shattering. It might help Grievous try to be a little bit more better efficient. Whenever a Sep ally deals damage to an enemy and no other enemy is blinded, inflict blind. Could do some cute stuff with stat bonus turn. You can never really count these effects out entirely. The other turn, droid allies gain defense but up and offense up for 1 turn. Alright, these are not earth-shattering. Blind is probably the one of intrigue. Oh, I missed the top one. Sep allies use a special ability on the turn to gain ripostes. Yeah, Grievous doesn't really leverage that all too much. That's more the other guy. Alright, Crosshair. Whenever Crosshair loses a stack of Shaken, he loses another stack of Shaken. So I'm going to assume that when he self-targets, it will be -7 instead of -12. But when he uses basic, if he hits every hit, it will be -6. That sounds vaguely true. Also, I think this means Omega Assist will get pretty good value too. Whenever Crosshair doesn't score a critical hit, he inflicts buff immunity on target enemy for 2 turns, which can't be evaded or resisted. So this... They don't have Vampag in the set, so normally when you see Crosshair inflicting debuffs, you kind of look for that to increase target practice generation, but we don't have access to that this year, so... Also, I don't know if this counts dodges. Doesn't score a critical hit. If that's listening for dodges, then you'll see this more often. Otherwise, this is more for just like GL matchups where they can't be crit type shit. Whenever Crosshair deals damage to an enemy, the weakest ally without stealth recovers 10% health and protection. So this is actually very similar functionality to what we already have right now with when you run Bad Batch 2 with Echo and Wrecker on the squad. For those of you who don't know, with Echo, Clone Trooper ally gains or loses a buff from a Bad Batch ally. They get 4% of each, doubled for Bad Batch allies, so he gets 8% for each. Slightly cut off. Oops. So he gets 8%, and then like Crosshair Basic does 3 hits, so that's 24% percent each. That's what I was talking about earlier with it becoming 48-24 rather than there's 24 of each. This is kind of imitating that functionality for Wrecker too. So if you're on a scenario where like maybe you want to run Wrecker 2 plus Omega plus Hunter, which is a configuration I've used a decent amount, this gives Wrecker 2 access to that type of region without costing you Wrecker 1 plus Echo. That's definitely respectable. Yeah, it's a very potent effect. Way better than it sounds. Very competitive. Batcher into daze and stun. Whatever Batcher damages an enemy, she removes 50% TM from them and gains that much. If there are no GLs, enemies can't gain bonus turn meter. Whenever another Bad Batch ally is inflicted with captive, reset the cooldowns of Batcher's abilities. She dispels all debuffs on her and she takes a bonus turn. It's got some utility. Batcher right now is niche. And is less niche because I took the self-assist upgrade, so I can't do the thing I wish to do with them. Especially now that Crosshair got fixed, Batcher would have been pretty cool to try that, but... Bad Batch 2, especially for using them on offense, are very much a toolkit scenario that I don't think you ever write this 9 off if there's a matchup that's giving you trouble. This could definitely try to have an impact on that. If there are no GLs, enemies can't gain bonus turn meter. Is something I kind of skimmed over, but also that's kind of yelling like... This is directly in conversation. So last week, an opponent used Bam Sana on my squad, and I guess this would just entirely shut down that functionality for running Batcher. That's kind of interesting. Huh. I can't discredit that, but I still have to be worried about what else could beat them instead. Omega Fugitive, whenever another ally recovers protection, Omega Fugitive gains Foresight. This will proc a lot. So Omega Fugitive can play the role of an off-tank. That's why I took mine to R9. There is something happening here where CG is kind of playing with the idea of you put Wrecker in stealth, you have Fugitive Omega out. Whenever another ally recovers protection, I think with this wording, they have to actually have taken protection damage in order to actually be able to recover it for her to gain Foresight. But with the 4% protection per turn, this is potentially creating a situation where you just have Foresight every turn. I don't think this will be a defense tool, but this could be an offense tool in some respects. You could tech certain matchups that way. Just interesting. Whenever Omega gains stealth, they also reduce the cooldowns of their special abilities by 1. Nah, you never really use that. Wrecker Merc, whenever Wrecker Merc loses taunt, remove 50% TM from all enemies. That does proc a fairly decent amount. I don't think it procs catastrophically high. I don't know. That is definitely potentially worth considering, but will be more like a thing that I look at for anti-matchup attack rather than like a default choice. At the start of each of Tech's turns, they reset their cooldowns and lose 5% health for each turn each ability was used. God, we haven't seen this effect in ages. Tech resetting every turn is kind of fun until you remember that Tech spends a lot of turns using his basic to cycle everyone else. But we certainly are not sad to see that. Yeah, I will use this probably. And also worth noting that Tech has a very small health pool and a very high protection pool, so the bulk loss isn't exactly that high, relatively speaking. Cassian Andor. Whenever Cassian inflicts a debuff, they recover 25% of their max health and protection once per turn. Placebo. Luthen has 5% bulk per relic amp level, and damage they receive is decreased by 50%. Uh, it could be a decent option for when you're trying to stall to another clone. But for matches like Gas, your damage is just so high that I don't actually know that this will make Luthen tankier. I guess I do have a question on whether or not this Datacron kicks in before the summon is made, because if the summon gives those benefits, it's not shabby, right? You will feel the extra protection. On Mothra, whenever Mothra uses a basic ability on the turn, other allies gain 25% TM. It's okay. Not great, not terrible. We already had kind of ways to make Mon Mothma's training kind of better. Slugger, whenever another ally is defeated, Saw takes a bonus turn, their cooldowns are reset. Hmm. That is in conversation with Luthen's summon. It's not shabby. It is there to just annoy the shit out of you. I don't know if it will annoy Gas enough to make that a problem. But it is there effectively to grief you, which is respectable. Yeah, it's definitely better than Luthen. So I guess a rocket launcher again. I don't think the extra rocket launchers will actually, like, stop Gas from winning. It will just be a pain in the ass. The allied leader is a rebel fighter, so Saw only. Whenever a rebel fighter ally gains or loses turn meter or a bonus turn, they recover that much health and protection. Whenever an enemy loses turn meter, they take 10% of their max health as true damage. Whenever Bodhi uses his basic, target enemy loses 30% turn meter, which can't be resisted. If Bodhi is defeated while another rebel fighter ally is active, he revives with 50% health and takes a bonus turn. Already takes a bonus turn, so the TM is placebo. Cooldown reduction. I don't think Bodhi's ability is that good that I remember. Yeah, I definitely think I lean the Sagura one. Yeah, this strikes me as bait. Like, the enemy lose TM takes 10% max health would be really good if you could pair it with this, but if you have to choose either, I think you're taking this. Number Palpatine, whenever EP stuns, gain crit damage and speed until the end of the encounter. I mean, it's free value for Starkiller. More Palpatine speed might actually be annoying for one raise and ult, but it's not catastrophically so. This, I assume, is just like broadly the Return of Sidious. Can't say I love teams like this returning. And by teams, I mean one person, but whatever. Talon, whenever Talon uses a basic, she gains protection of stacking for 2 turns and 50% TM. Whenever she damages using a special, inflict fear, which can be resisted. The fear is a bit spicy. This might be a boon for Treya Talon Savage to some degree. Scion, whenever he critically hits, gains stacking damage. I don't think Scion's base damage is relevant enough. I mean, maybe I'm discounting Savage and Treya Omicrons. Maybe could combo with this, but I don't think they will. Whenever the assassin gains stealth, they recover 100% protection. It's kind of the opposite of how she gets used right now. Dooku has 20% crit chance and crit damage while he is afflicted with a debuff. Whenever a separatist ally uses a special ability on their turn, Count Dooku assists and dispels all buffs on the target. At the end of his turn, Dooku is inflicted with disarm until the start of his next turn. Whenever Count Dooku takes damage during his turn, the weakest enemy is dealt 20% of that damage, which can't defeat them. So the disarm is flavor for him holding a hand behind his back, I think. Dooku is not a very tanky character, so the ambition... I mean, this is what, I guess, trying to gesture more towards, like, tank tech Dooku stealthing everyone else and then trying to, like, solo the enemy team or something. Still, Dooku is a very, very squishy old character. I don't know how realistic that sounds. At the start of Trench's turn, dispel debuffs on them. Trench is just such an old, like, this is not a real team. I don't know this. Like, you would want auto dispel. If it was auto dispel and not just on turn, then this would at least let him try to be his reactive self. This, I think, is way too slow. Assuming that you get to a turn is not really always going to happen. It's most likely to happen if you have tank tech, but then you just do that anyway. Newt. Newt gains turn meter when other allies use a special ability on their turn. That's like probably the best stretch one so far. Right, you try to TM accelerate, and then you try to speed down and get a speed delta that way. Watt say more. Whenever Watt is dealt damage, reflect damage back 20%. Not really worth thinking about. Maybe if you're using Watt as a flex, you just bring it as free value. General Grievous. Whenever another ally uses ability on their turn, Grievous assists. This is pretty good. This is very good. I don't know, man. It feels like CG keeps up printing Grievous support, and it feels like I have not pulled the trigger on actually like taking risks with Grievous yet. I've been playing kind of risk averse with who I use on offense. I do think GG stab has not been fully explored. It was like a free Leia kill. Yeah, probably. Poggle. Whenever Poggle attacks out of turn, they gain a stack of heal over time and protection over time for 2 turns, and they inflict target made with protection disruption for 1 turn. Geos just need like a lifter, I think, at this point. Geo's getting protection disruption is funny, but I don't think it's enough to be real. Empire, whenever... Oh, is this just on the Appo run? Whenever a debuff on an enemy expires, allies gain potency and tenacity until the end of battle. I mean, potency ramp on LV is not bad. The allied leader is Lord Vader, and all other allies are Empire. The conditions requiring all other allies to be Darkside clone troopers are considered met. That's... Appo has Darkside clone checks. I figured that it would be something like this to make him more usable early. Whenever an enemy dispels any amount of damage over time, Appo gains a stack of Operation Nightfall for each enemy that had a stack of damage over time dispelled. Okay, so it's trying to make this something more permanent. He inflicts Order 66 on a random enemy that had a stack of damage over time dispelled. It definitely felt like Order 66 was a bit too hard to hit, having not seen the other 3 clones. which can't be copied, dispelled, or evaded, or resisted. At the start of each Dark Side Clone Trooper's turn, all allies gain 10% Death Pen and offense for 1 turn. For each stack of Operation Nightfall and Appo. So functionally, I mean, we'll have CX2 soon, but this is mostly just hitting Appo and the summon. I know we haven't talked about Appo yet, but I feel it's been a day. Y'all probably see what the fuck it is at this point. I have also seen what it is. I haven't seen Appo's damage. So I am missing that context, but yeah, you'll get a lot of summons. So this is kind of just insurance that the summon will always be last standing, for better or worse. I still think you kind of prefer to see summons in the role that, like, Luthen uses them. You kind of want summons to protect your real characters rather than protecting the summon. I know the summon ramps. I don't know if the ramp stays between... Revives will be a big question. Yeah, it can be defeated as a Lord Vader, but you kill Lord Vader, then you kill Appo, then you kill the summon. Alright, focus DCs. That bad. Crit damage, crit chance. Crit damage, crit chance. Crit damage, crit chance. Armor pen, crit chance. Resi pen, crit chance. Yeah, see, this is not necessarily a barn burner. You feel like that's going to be a struggle? I've done it with Bo-Katan. LV is more killable than people think. I don't think Appo alone is going to, like, shake the earth. The thing you have to remember is the biggest reason why killing LV first was always problematic was because of Royal Guard. So if we're moving towards a future where Royal Guard is getting benched, LV is not as durable as the boy seems. I'm not saying that I'm worried about LV's future. I'm just saying we have 25% of total information for the new team. At the start of battle, I assume this might just be like mercenary or bounty hunter. Bounty hunter allies lose. Okay, it's crit. Bounty hunter crit. Level 9. When an enemy is defeated, bounty hunter allies gain bounty hunter's resolve. Okay. Level 12. Fennec Shand calls a random bounty hunter ally to assist whenever she uses a basic. I assume that also counts out of turn. The start of Fennec's turn, she gains a stack of Loyal Hand at max 20 until the end of the encounter. That's the Talon. Mara. If Boba Fett signed a Jango's in the lead slot, Fennec also gains a stack of Loyal Hand at the start of his turn, and the benefits she gains from Loyal Hand are also granted to him. This does not have Super Team vibes yet. It's nice. But I don't know if this will cause bounty hunters to beat stuff they weren't already beating. This might enable some really funny, easy contract stuff with the Wraith is the biggest thing that comes to mind to me. Signet Jango has a plus 100% speed while he has fewer than 10 stacks of momentum. Start of the encounter, Boba Signet Jango gains 3 stacks of Beskar armor till the end of the encounter. I mean, that could just be Tuskens. But I don't know if Beskar armor will actually stop Radis from just doing what Radis do. And all enemies are inflicted with target lock until the end of the encounter, which can't be resisted, prevented, or dispelled. Signet Jango's attacks ignore protection. If at the start of the encounter there are no Empire GLs and Fennec Shand is the only other ally, so it's an undersize. While Signet Jango's active, all allies have 75% max health and offense, instant defeat immunity, and immunity to ability block, daze, healing immunity, shock, stun, and Terminator. I'm like not taking any of the words as I'm saying them. Stats and a bunch of immunities. This is kind of the Bane effect, right? Ally attack can't be evaded. Whenever Signet Jango gains a stack of momentum, Fennec gains TM. If Fennec gets 10 or more stacks of Loyal Hand, she inflicts Death Mark. Okay, so we have like a pseudo Bane-ish thing. They're stun immune, shock immune, daze immune, team reduction immune. They don't have the self clones. Interesting. Well, we've got Sidious Kron and now we've got Dadbod Kron, both trying to be undersized offense powerhouses. Dr. Afra, if all other allies are Dr. Afra. Oh. Darth Vader or Darkseid droids. Kersatan's abilities trigger as though all allies were Hut Cartel. Kersatan reduces all ally cooldowns by 1 over looks disarm. This is not worth running. Until Kersatan can do some sort of perma-taunting for the Afra team, this is not really worth running. This like gives you Slick with an acceleration on your second cooldown increase if you like care about ramping, but this is Kersatan perma-taunting though. What are the... Isn't a lot of it specifically worded for like when I have a GL leader though, which still won't be satisfied? The 30 reach encounter, Kersatan taunts and gains speed up for 2 turns. Whenever he loses taunt, he gains it for 1 turn if the ally in the leader slot has more than 50% protection. Always are Hut Cartel at the start of battle, Kersatan mean ability block and cooldown increase. And the first time the ally in the lead slot falls below 50% health, Kersatan taunts for 2 turns. Okay, so maybe he does largely get to be himself. The GL check is not too disastrous to lose. Okay. That makes me respect it more. To be sure. I assume this is like droid or scoundrel allies can ignore taunts targeted debuffed enemy. That's not a bad effect by any means. Yeah. BT1 just being able to freely target basic is like catastrophic to some squads. While BT1 is active, 000 is immune to daze and stun. Whenever 000 damages a target locked enemy, he gains protection up 50% TM. Inflicts protection disruption for 2 turns. This is just reinforcing BT1 faster than 000, which is already a thing I enjoyed greatly. Yeah, so BT1 does AoE, you get target lockout, and then you try to torture plus the protection disrupt is a pretty good thing to do. Okay, and stat-wise, we have tenacity, potency, good mix. Potency, offense, fine mix. Protection, potency, good mix. Protection, potency, solid. Yep. Not shabby. Let's see. First time each, again, I assume droid or scoundrel ally reaches 90, 70, and 50% health, inflict doubt on a random enemy that doesn't have it. This is very defense coded. I mean, her getting Kersan kind of online, it was already a little bit defense coded, but this also feels, I mean, it's good for offense as well, but it adds risk. Yeah, it depends on who the faction tag is for, but that's definitely a solid effect. And it's undispellable, unpreventable. Yeah, powerful. Dr. Afra can't be targeted by enemies if there are active Darkseid droid allies, and she revives all Darkseid scoundrel allies when she uses dangerous tech. Bad news for Kersan. I don't think I'm running Kersan anymore. He existed on Afra for a whole of 30 seconds in my mind. If there are Darkseid droid allies, and she revives all Darkseid's counter allies when she uses dangerous tech, I assume that's special 1. Or maybe a special 2. Afro, Satan, Darth Vader, and Darkseid droids are immune to thermal deaths. Yeah, it's special 1. Immune to thermal deaths. If that clause baits everyone into using their Afro on Jabba, I'm going to laugh so fucking hard. God, that it would not surprise me either at this point, but Jabba is now defensive court just to try to get motherfuckers to save their Afro. It feels like Jabba unpostable. No, Jabba has never been more postable. I wish you would. You got it, man. You're immune to my thermal detonators. Please stop. No, don't wait. I'm gonna be posting Jabba bottom front. No, I'll post them top front so they can see it, so that they can salivate over it. They'll be like, I got my Afra. There's the Jabba. This is all going according to my plan. This is very fucking funny. I'm so glad this is here. Thank you, CG. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. So L3 has a savior clause that is in conversation with the Afra targeting clause. Now Kristan's taunt will be a little bit stickier than L3's will be. But there is something happening here that will be a little bit interesting to try to unpack in terms of there's a world where maybe you even just go L3 Kristan. Kind of like I've been going L3 Zalbar. Timing people out. L3 is just a friend of the Wookiees this month, apparently. Interesting. Do we have the makings of a puzzle box? We are still a bit less reactive than I would like. The reactive doubt does help, but it's not as, like, insane as the bonus turn clause was. But I will probably at least be trying. Now, crucially, this is not Afra can't be defeated. This is Afra can't be targeted. Is this just going to die to Sidious? Is that what's happening here? I guess this is... I guess what L3 is really doing here is just trying to stop Sidious from... This is why I hate shit like Sidious. The no fun allowed Datacron. Which, like, sometimes you need release valves for if you're predicting a strong defense team, but... Oh, yeah. So every enemy's turn, if they have at least 5 stacks of damage over time, they're instantly defeated. Doesn't he also stop revives? Maybe not. 200% defense, health steal, max health, and max protection, 100% counter chance, and crit chance, 100 speed. I do remember that Sidious wasn't necessarily as destructive as it sounded like he would be sometimes. Immune to daze and stun. Dispel debuff on himself and reset cooldowns. He just AoEs you constantly. Use the basic inflictions active DOT, which can't be resisted. Whenever he uses a special, dispel buffs on all enemies. Enemies can't assist or attack again if he's targeted. There's still, like, you definitely need more of a cleanse engine than just L3 getting hit. So that can't be revived, but would that proc? This is whenever an enemy is defeated by a Sith ally, and I don't know if an enemy killing themselves on their turn would be credited to Sidious. And crucially, ironically, L3 could actually possibly just time out Sidious, which is very funny. That is extremely funny. Um, I don't know. There's dynamics here. I'm posting L3 with Afrin. Yeah, potentially. It's making a lot of sense, unless you just want to watch all of your shit die to Sidious. If you have Zalbar and Macron, I don't know if I. Let me look at Zalbar again. I was thinking like maybe L3 Chrysanthemum. Is he muted damage over time? Is it not even? Oh, he's just it's dazed exposed that damage over time. What about the summon? Yeah, same. We are ahead of ourselves. Yeah, I have enjoyed Afrin's defensive stats in the past. I'm not like 100% sure that it'll happen here, but I will be trying. Harris and Nula, we've already kind of seen a good amount of this. LSTM. I guess crucially, you can't reroll the level 3s or anything. We already seen this, but Kanan is immune to instant defeat effects, and other Phoenix allies can't be defeated while he's active if there's no jail. Whenever Phoenix, I assume, allies target another ally with an ability during their turn, they both gain. I've never been that big of a fan of this level 6 effect. It's very slow. Phoenix do tend to target each other a lot, that it does give some amount of ramp. You know, Kanan has 2 targeted abilities, Hera has 2 targeted abilities. They can proc this pretty often, I'm not discounting that. But I mean, in this case, you're not comparing it to anything. You literally have to have it. So I guess cool. I need to break that part of my brain that's like evaluating against other effects. It's just the thing we have. Whenever Ezra Bridger dispels a buff from an enemy during his attack, he deals true damage to that enemy, which can be evaded. I don't assume this is a large quantity of true damage, so not that impactful of an effect. Level 15. At the start of the encounter, Harrison, Nula, and Kanan Jarrus gain guard until they are defeated. Whenever an ally is defeated, if there are no other allies with guard, Hera applies guard to the strongest other Phoenix ally. That is a wrinkle. Captain Rex has a lot of jobs right now, man. I don't know if this is necessarily devastating enough to demand Captain. It's got a bit of texture to it. It's got a bit of crunch to it. I mean, I was already playing with Phoenix on defense back when Captain Rex came out. I'll have to re-explore that. The biggest issue... Gas was the thing that I always lived in fear of. And back when Captain Rex came out, there was, like, reasonable doubt that you could try to catch someone for needing gas elsewhere. Is there anything that just stops gas from just being like, okay, you're dead? Okay, you have guard, meet my friend Rex Nuke, which is not an instant defeat, but rather just a defeat of an instant variety? I hate to say it, but if we assume that this is unpostable on defense because gas will just eat it, then functionally all this is just a Phoenix offense cron with mild damage ramp. Unless this ends up being huge. This seems like this will be impactful for like early mid game. I don't think this will impact the end game that much. Zalbar. Defense, hello. First time tag is defeated, they revive with 100% health, gain health over time for 2 turns, and take a bonus turn. Tank revive. Check. Whenever blank allies attack out of turn, they have a 25% chance to remove 10% turn meter from the target. We don't know whether this is Scoundrel or Old Republic. We know CG said that they're willing to mix and match what faction effects are what. Like, you could have this be Old Republic and this be Scoundrel. But this is really fucking hard to assess. Let's just assume it's Scoundrel in good faith. Scoundrel attack out of turn, 25% chance to remove 10% TM. Not that impactful. Whenever Scoundrel allies inflict at least 4 debuffs on a turn, they have a 10% chance to reduce their cooldowns by 1 for each debuff they inflicted that turn. %10 chance stacking by what? Oh, for each debuff that they inflicted. This is kind of giving Afra a cooldown reduction. That's kind of cute. Whenever a debuff on an enemy expires, I'm going to assume Scoundrel allies gain 2% offense, double that debuff was dispelled until the end of battle. Not great, not terrible. Gives a bit of extra attrition. Zalbar definitely wants to go long. Or it could be Mercenary as well, technically. At the start of his turn, Zalbar gives Taunt for 1 turn to all tank allies. And tank allies are immune to buff immunity and stun while he is active once per turn. When Zalbar inflicts armor shred on an enemy, he inflicts it on all of the enemies until the end of the encounter. Oh, Jesus Christ. Juhani is real 8% offense on her second turn. Yeah, I figured it was okay into the Omicron as well. That's true. It will let Juhani taunt, so that is more real. This could be used to really try to group for A squads to some degree. Although we don't have access to dodge with this, which is the realest of shames. The armor shred thing is kind of cute. Yeah, so they're definitely trying to push Zalbar in a more proactive direction. It's already kind of happened with the 3v3 Omicron side of things. Cool. Yeah, this has a variety of usages. I think it gives Ray a little bit more texture, a little bit more opportunities. I realize they're immune to buff immunity. That could just be a very sneaky thing to jam into a lot of teams, potentially. On 36% ratio, not real. The thing to keep in mind is it's permanent. So genuinely speaking, it's 40% offense per proc until the end of the encounter. At some point, the kit math stops mattering when we are operating in this large of a set of games. It still feels not real. I mean, her first cast might not do that much, but I do imagine that this will at least have offense prospects. Yeah, it strikes me as real. All right, so what are all the FTCs? Sign to Django. I think my personal priority will be Afra first. Cursa or too much Afra talk. Zalbar second. Sign to Django third. Hero fourth. If at the start of the encounter there are no Empire GLs is very fucking funny. I didn't even detect that. Yeah, that is my assumption. Saul will do 150% max. Cool. I do feel like the power is shifted down a little bit on the 6s and 9s in a lot of cases. Like, especially Sep 6s feel pretty timid. Sith 6s feel pretty timid. Even Rebel feels pretty timid. Bad Batch, less so. Bad Batch has sauce. Bad Batch, I feel pretty confident will be on defense. Interesting. Does Bad Batch have to be concerned about Sidious? I wonder if this could proc. Like, could you proc Cleanse before Sidious does the defeat? Also, isn't it an instant defeat, or would it go to capture? I guess a few other questions. Also, doesn't Sidious rely to some degree on critting? 2 additional dots if it crits. Yeah. So the stealth is doing some pretty good work here. Now, granted, they will not be proccing bonus turns at all. Crosshair Omicron is off. Omega's Omicron is effectively off. Crosshair can't assist, and Omega, like, you're gonna be threatened by dots before you fall below 100% health. Not sure. Hard to say. He does expose. Now, let me refamiliarize. Is damaged by expose. It specifically has to be damaged, but, we assume that he will have to, like, AoE you 5 times to even threaten you with it. All enemies receive damage equal to 1% of their max health for each stack of target practice on all allies, but isn't this... He is not percent health immune, I guess? It's still not necessarily going to ramp all that much. Or we would need... Mega won't work here because even Hunter kind of won't work here. It would need some actual raw target practice generation. Wait, what? Fucking CG. Fucking CG. Fucking CG. Just kidding, actually. Go fuck yourself, bud. Get back in season 12 where you belong. Fuck out of here. Thank you. That was a fun little treat to discover. I wonder how many people are gonna ram their face into that. Is this a bug? Has anyone seen this? Why? But he's not lighting dots. Ironically, this does mean that if you run the auto unstealth, it would actually let him pick you apart over time. The secret is simply just to not fucking do that. Which technically, Omega will also contribute to herself. But also, Omega has stealth on like a 3-turn cooldown. This might just not be real for cities at all, period. Even ignoring... Yeah, it's a 3-turn cooldown on a team glance. Yeah, this is not real. Okay. Cool. Orchestrated cartons don't seem like disastrously strong to me. The Afro one is cooking. I don't think it is Great Mother's tier. I'm not even necessarily sure that it's all the way to OG Afrocrown tier, but it feels like a worthy addition to the meta. I hope that I can theory craft it enough to try to force out some defensive holds. It is definitely got some aspects of a puzzle box, right? You've got conditions, you got characters who can defend those conditions. The biggest question is just going to be... Right, you either question how resilient can the team be, or like, can I fight back? And stuff like this does help you fight back a little bit. The BT1 is certainly dangerous, and Afro does ramp, but yeah, we're just gonna have to see. For those of you who don't know, you might have missed this. It was Datamines. We know who's coming. There's also this. I don't know what the fuck that is. Well, it's bittersweet. We are getting a Republic Commando. It is unfortunately not the Republic Commandos or the other Republic Commandos of the book series. It is the abomination that we got in Bad Batch. It was just a fucking joke. But it's our first Republic Commando in game as a Jedi have a shotgun. It is a clone in disguise. Referenced in Appo's kit. I think it was technically from a deleted scene. But yeah. So we are getting Scorch. I don't know if it's going to be based on Bad Batch or if it's going to be based on the game. As far as I'm concerned, this Scorch is like when they did the Wolverine movie and like so Deadpool's mouth shut. It's just like you just like entirely missed the entire point of the character, I guess. And the entire appeal of the Republic Commandos, I guess. Anyway, Happiest in Galaxy of Heroes. Certainly Galaxy of Heroes has rehabbed misuse of other characters in the past. And then this is my real code. Okay. So this pose is clearly based on Revenge of the Sith. But that is Depa Billaba, who is Mace's apprentice. Who I know appeared in Clone Wars, but also appeared in Shatterpoint. I have some serious questions over what the inspiration for this Mace is going to be. Obviously, they're talking about Revenge of the Sith, but if it's Revenge of the Sith, then that could look to the book for inspiration, which was written by Matthew Stover, who also wrote Shatterpoint. There is hope. There is hope. The Jedi Master Mace might actually be like an attacker with Flophead callouts. And then, yeah, we knew this was coming. It's a Temple Guard. That's basically, as far as I can tell, the Grand Inquisitor flashback version of who he was before. Depa was Kanan's mentor? I don't fucking remember. It might have been Barris. No, that was Luminara. She was a fallen Jedi in the book. She was about as fallen as a fucking gets, that I remember. I don't know if she got redeemed or not. It's been years and years, but there could be fun flavor with that. Although I suspect the Jedi Vanguard will not feature 2 VODpad users. Although if we're getting really fucking in the weeds, I don't. The only reason why I know this is because I listened to a certain podcast. But the Grand Inquisitor, I believe, knew all of the forms. So technically, this image has 3 VODpad wielders. From a certain point of view. Or we're just gonna get versions based on the movie and based on Clone Wars. It's gonna be fucking lame as shit. I mean, I don't know about the kids, but the source material, right? There is so much more flavor to work with in the books than there is for the movie, right? It's just the nature of those beasts. But we shall see. My podcast, A More Civilized Age. A Star Wars podcast. Technically a Clone Wars podcast. They scoped out. They do deep dives into like the production and like behind the scenes shit. Grand Inquisitor's whole shtick in season 1 was being intimately familiar with the swordsmanship. And that was something they really wanted to focus on, is that he was sort of like a martial expert. It is something that Kymir did as well. If I'm pushing all of my agendas, Kymir would also be a very cool addition to this game. Although I'm gonna fucking strongly argue that I still think Kymir was a VODpad user for those fights. You look at the description of the form, and then you look at the choreography, and motherfucker tell me that's not one. This is like the dirtiest I've ever gotten on stream. Anyway, this is the data as well. This is like, oh, isn't this just like a data card? For some reason, I was thinking this was like a mod thing. Never mind. Get out of here. Be gone. But yeah, a solid heaping helping of stuff. I had such hopes, man. Jedi Master Base Windu was like my top 2 character requests. Like number 1 was Kymir, number 2 was possibly getting a Shatterpoint Lopad Mace. Number 3 was like 03 Grievous. Yeah. And then, yeah, I'm bitching and moaning about Bad Batch, but it is very cool to have a Republic Commando in game. It's just because we're getting the solo dark side clone under Lord Vader. It's also just so fucking funny to me that we're getting all like 30 dozen offshoots. You have the original, and then we just got Bad Batch season 3, and then now we have him here. God damn it. Anyway, maybe we'll get Delta Force or Delta Squad someday. But let's see. I guess it is now Appo time. All right. So y'all have read the kit, or most of you probably have. I also have. So we'll do a little bit of meta talk, and then we can still go through the kit, I guess. But overall, I will say I don't think this character is nuts, and I don't think his job is to be nuts. Right? This is very much a part of a whole. And as the attacker, attackers very often aren't the flashy, crazy shit. Right? It's usually on the supports, usually on the tanks. Attacker is very often a thankless job. Unless you're like Crosser, where you just have like, you end up being the team's engine. But there is some stuff that got me to perk up immediately. I'm looking for it. I don't remember exactly where it was. We'll just go through it after. Fuck it. All right. Unique. Vader's Fist, Zeta Omicron. Omicron is... Wait. Yeah, it's TB. It's not real. Darkside Clone Trooper allies gain 5 speed for each enemy, doubled for each Jedi and Ufu enemy. And if all allies are Empire, summon a Nightfall Trooper into the ally slot. On allied Nightfall Trooper is active, Appo has 50% offense. Whenever an enemy is defeated, reduce the cooldown of no witnesses by 1. At the start of his turn, Appo dispels foresight on all enemies. Enemies who had foresight dispelled this way are exposed for 2 turns. I wonder if that is stacks, actually. At the start of the encounter, if the ally in the leader slot is Lord Vader and all their allies are Darkside clones, and there are no enemy GLs, he gains Coruscant Commander, which means he can't be defeated until LV is defeated. The ally in the leader slot is LV and all other allies are Darkside clones. At the start of the encounter, he full heals. Everyone gets dramatic entrance, which is bonus speed and... Wait, did they put it in? I think they did. 25% offense. I thought it was 25 speed as well, maybe not. Your bonus true damage equal to 10% of the target's max health, which can't be evaded. 20% TM. And dramatic entrance for 2 turns if you get a kill that way. That is neat and all, but I don't think that is earth-shattering. And he gains 3 stacks of Operation Nightfall, which means when the summon dies, you get to make another one, at least 3. And as we just saw with the Datacron set, you potentially get to make a lot more. And potentially, like, I don't know if there's ever a conversation to have where, like, maybe the factional stuff, you could break a little bit that you just, like, Piet mark the summon. Could try to do some goofy stuff that way. Kind of some Luthen flavor. Yeah, very straightforward. I guess I should try to grab Lysias' post, see what the damage numbers look like. So this is the summon stats. And then here's Appo. I think he's defaulted to the wrong browser. Damn. Okay. I guess we should put illustrated the abilities first before we go number-wise, but... Yeah, we assume that he's mostly going to have 50% offense, so it's a question of... Is that just pushing him to normal offense and it'll be weaker without it, or is that actually like a bonus offense? Because we've seen characters who kind of experience both. No witnesses, cooldown of 4, deals good damage and trigger all stacks of damage over time on all enemies. Nightfall Trooper assists and gains advantage for 2 turns. If Lord Vader is in the allied lead slot and the target enemy has 8 or more stacks of damage over time, inflict Order 66 on the target enemy for 2 turns, which can't be copied, dispelled, evaded, or resisted. So, the fact that this squad is going to be limited to Darkside clones, or probably is going to be limited to Darkside clones, I had to recheck the clauses, but obviously with the future clones, we're kind of looking for some sort of like turn swap with LV, or they can make damage over time themselves. But I think LV makes 6 naturally. Isn't it 4 on AoE? Or is it 3? I think it makes 2 naturally. Yeah, so that puts you at 6. You need some way to go over the top. But yeah, Order 66, immune to buffs and can be revived if defeated. It's not like Deathmark levels of insane pressure, but it's still definitely solid. Triggering all the dots is cute, but sounds way more devastating than it is. It's basically, what, 30-40% health damage, usually? Which is, like, it's not shabby, especially in an AoE. But you're still kind of looking for him to be an actual proper damage dealer. 40% AoE percent health is like... Well, it's exactly what it sounds like, but... It's not earth-shattering. Is what I'll say. It's cool, it's thematic, and I was wondering if we were ever going to get trigger effects like this. But there's real questions of when we see the rest of the kits, we're wondering, okay, are there more ways to create dots? Because if there are more ways, then all of a sudden this ability takes on a very fucking different tone, right? If it's only coming from LV, then it's cool little extra flavor. It's cool little extra bonus. If people can actually start layering it down, then this is all of a sudden like a kill ability. So we'll have to see. Special one, Nightfall. Dispel all buffs on all enemies, deal physical damage to target enemy, and stun them for 1 turn, then call a random dark side clone trooper support ally to assist. Ally that assists gains stealth at the end of Appo's turn for 1 turn. Or 1 turn. For 1 turn, I think. Appo and Nightfall Trooper gain critical damage up for 2 turns. So we see critical damage up, we see an advantage, we see 50% off is of the unique. LV is a squad that, as I recall, like aside from mastery shit, isn't really giving you too many damage steroids that I recall. So yeah, it's good that they're at least trying to supply some for themselves. It's just spellable and all that jazz, but the offense is not. I mean, we'll have to see whether there's... The fact that it's random means you probably assume that there's going to be 2 supports here. I mean, you assume that someone has to be a tank. I don't know, Scorch ends up being the tank, as a Republic Commando being kind of a beefy unit. TX2, you could definitely imagine being a support, and then maybe he is a support because we know he's an attacker. I think there are massive, massive questions for the fact that we're losing Royal Guard. Even though I know Royal Guard is not the monolith that he once was, you still kind of need the dude to die because he offers the team so much regen. That I do wonder, or like we saw when Bane came out, they basically just put the text of like Watt Tech in for Bane into the Eternal. I would not mind seeing the exact same thing done here, where like, oh, they did the same thing with like Stap and Newt, right? They do what the fuck it is. These are just kind of core flavor mechanics for the team. They're like, not to say that LV can't exist without it, but if they're going to exist without it, then you really have questions for, okay, well, how good is the tank really? That's a huge question, and I think it's safe to assume that we're not going to be getting a tank in the first 2 releases. So we shall see. Basic, deal physical damage to target enemy and grant defense pen up for 2 turns to the strongest ally that didn't already have it. During Appo's turn, call all other attacker allies with defense pen up to assist. And then the summon is very, very similar to Appo himself. Unique, whenever Night Trooper uses an ability, he gains 20%, doubles if he scores a crit. Special Defender, call a random support to assist, and they stealth for 1 turn. Then do physical damage. I wonder if this counts as 2 abilities, that he like calls the assist and then does a follow-up basic, so maybe it could give him like 80%. Appo and Trooper gain advantage. And then same basic. Deal physical damage to target me and grant defense put up to the strongest ally that didn't already have it. Call all other attacker allies with defense put up to assist. So basically what this means is, if we can read the tea leaves a little bit here, one of these people is probably a tank, unless this is just like a tankless squad, which is possible. We can assume that 2 of them are supports. So LV is an attacker, Appo is an attacker, Nightfall Trooper is an attacker. So it will really just be these 2 plus the summon that are in the assist pool. Is kind of my read. We don't know that, but I'm just tea leaf reading. So my overall thoughts. This is not my card. Okay. I don't think that this character is a barn burner, like on his own. The reason why that doesn't really bother me I'm just gonna control F it. Yeah. We have a CG that I just skipped past it, apparently. Statement of intent that they want LV to be extremely harder if you're bringing anything less than a GL. Whether or not that ends up being true, of course, remains to be seen. But I at least appreciate A, the statement of intent. B, I appreciate the intent. Yeah. I don't think that, like, LV usually surrounds himself with tanks and supports. The most of what Appo is doing, I think, here is adding this, which they said that you will get extra ult charge for Dark Cyclones being hit, but I don't imagine that we'll get the speed up that Ufu, Darkside Ufu has under Lord Vader. Alright, now let's actually look at numbers. Ratios, not insanely high. Offense, not insanely high. Is he 227? I don't think he's a strength attacker then. Yeah, his damage numbers are okay. They're not like exceptional. They're solid. So kind of just feel, or what's the speed? 188 is pretty brisk. Like the biggest things that we don't know right now are like, so is there going to be like some sort of like assist clause on someone else that causes you to assist more often? Because obviously these basics, you would not mind reaching a point where you're just racking up assists, but it has to be on turn to call the assists, and the rest of the time you're just kind of sprinkling defense spend up. The other biggest question that I have is, I think it's only on the summon. I wonder if this is him doing a basic and possibly proccing the assist or not. Yeah, CG is very, very interested in trying to get us to work on new content, I think. Everything they're doing is shifting in that direction. I mean, that's been the direction that they've been going in ever since, like, Jabba got his event, right? They want there to be good reasons. I mean, we've seen it with the assault battles as well. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think Appo is going to change the LV meta short term. Let me look. Yeah, like, I don't know that LV... Like, I'm thinking, like, LV Royal Guard Appo, just to try to, like, buy some Diamond Salt, but I don't know if that's actually enough pressure. I don't imagine that Order 66 would stop Ancestral. I don't think that can be prevented. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is actually that powerful. I don't think Appo himself... I think Appo needs the full package to release to kind of come online, which is fine. I'm not fussed about it. Is there any reading... Yeah, it has to be a Lord Vader lead. I don't think this has, like, plug-and-play flex. And the Empire effect is not really, you know, tenacity ramp doesn't threaten anything for Bo-Katan. Okay, cool. We have got our work cut out for us. We just need to get their timelines. All right, I want to fuck around with Crosshair and Bazaar, but I will probably need to take a break first, just because I am hurting in a lot of ways. I need to go heavily medicate this shit. It's been almost 2 weeks and I have not gotten better. Which everyone I've talked to is saying, like, yeah, I've got the same shit. I was definitely 2 or 3 weeks. Fucking annoying. Why does my face hurt so much? This is bullshit. I'll probably go do that. We'll go do some Bazaar. Yeah, sounds good. All right. Thanks for watching. We will be back in a bit. Peace.